This is episode 243 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. This week, we'll talk about the possibility of life on Mars, how an iconic messenger has gone away, and how Google needs help. Also, SP will tell you about his latest acquisition, an outdoor movie theater. Check out this and more in this week's GonnaGeek.com show.
I'm Amos, host of Undaunted, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual host. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready, because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
This is the official GonnaGeek.com show. Here we're a bunch of geeks talking about geeky things. Each week we run down the latest news and happenings in the world of geek. These are your hosts for the show, Steven.
But what if I'm in the mood for a T-Swift story?
Chris.
I've heard the X is going to give it to you.
And SP.
That's how we roll on Gonna Geek on Monday night. We get crazy!
Gonna Geek Productions presents the official GonnaGeek.com show.
Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I am the Canadian Stephen John Drew, hashtag thanks Canada, and with me, of course, is Chris Farrell.
Yay?
We also have, of course, Stargate Pioneer.
Hailing to you from America, where we don't have red backgrounds.
Yep, I think we're not allowed to get along anymore because I'm meek and mild, and I'm an angry Canadian. You've made me mad, Americans.
Well, red's proven to make people angry, so that big red backdrop there is just going to gradually stoke my uncivilized American temper as the show proceeds.
Well, since you're talking about the backdrop, yes, if you're not familiar with this, we do indeed have an official video show. If you ever want to watch us do the show, you can check that out. It is a full produced video version. You can go to www.gonnageek.com. Or should I say four or five W's? www.gonnageek.com and check it out. Absolutely, please do check out the video show. And while you're over there, check out the other amazing geeky content on the Gonna Geek Network. We've got a lot of fun geeky content. We do encourage you to check that out, including Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast, which is the official Marvel Universe podcast of the Gonna Geek Network. There's there's three amazing people and one sort of kind of cool person that occasionally has something reasonable to say. It rhymes with Marmate Myaneer.
It's the monkey that flips the switch for the show. That's who that individual is. The other three people are amazing.
By the way, the joke is that Stargate Pioneer is on that show. But yes, it is fun to hear a bunch of Marvel Universe talk over there. So please do check that out at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. As well, there's Geeks.live. Lots of great geeky content. And since we're talking about Geeks.live, we should take a moment to tell you that we do stream this usually live at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time on Mondays to www.geeks.live. However, due to a couple of scheduling difficulties, we're being preempted by the June Olympics. It's a small event. The June Olympics. We just made that up. The Podlympics. Sorry, the June Podlympics.
There is a ton of track and field going on right now. I saw on NBC Sports yesterday, there was the beach volleyball, the women's beach volleyball, which is ever so fun to watch.
True. So since Chris does have to play in the women's beach volleyball, we are going to be recording a little bit earlier.
No. Referee, not play.
Okay, fair
Referee.
enough.
Is that what you're calling it?
If you do check us out live, you'll have to check us out earlier on Monday, June 25th. That's at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be recording a little bit earlier. And we won't have a show next week, meaning that on the week of June 18th, there won't be a show recorded or released. After June 25th, we should be back to our usual time at 5:45 p.m. Pacific Time. That's 8:45 p.m. Eastern. We're always at Geeks.live when we do record. But let's go ahead and talk some geek news. Here we go. All right. Yahoo! Or is it more like boo-hoo? This is sad news.
I just want a joiner of Steven going boo-hoo like that. I'm going to strip that out and use in some of my other podcasts.
I encourage you to. I encourage every podcast to use that.
I am excited to hear that. That's at roughly the 6.5 minute mark. So please, folks, remind me later to come and rip that out. I'd appreciate it.
All right. What's going on in the world of Yahoo?
So I don't know if you guys remembered. Let's step back in time a few years. You guys remember that Yahoo used to have an instant messenger too? We talked in the past about AOL Instant Messenger. We know it's sadly departed. Do you guys remember Yahoo Messenger?
I remember something about Yahoo Messenger, and I think I had a couple of people that I like to do the naughty text messages with on there. His name was Stargate Pioneer.
Steven was like, I'm buying maple syrup right now. It's not that fake maple syrup. It's real maple syrup. And I'm going home, and I'm having flapjacks. Fresh flapjacks. Mmm.
Now, somebody remind me to extract that and use that on all of my podcasts.
So in all seriousness, you might have forgotten I'd only used it in passing for a few things, but Yahoo Instant Messenger was a thing. Verizon actually picked up as part of the acquisition of a bunch of stuff they had with Yahoo, and they announced earlier this week Yahoo Instant Messenger will officially shut down July 17th, 2018. Well, guys, it did have a good run, though. Originally, it launched in 1998 as a tool called Yahoo Pager. We had such cutting-edge features in Yahoo Instant Messenger /Pager, like file sharing, group conversations, and interoperability with Windows Live Messenger. You guys remember that one?
I do remember that.
Interoperability is the key thing that systems engineers often use.
So they are shutting their doors. They told folks there is another app, a group chatting app that's in beta called Squirrel, that is a possible alternative. But guys, let's be honest. In today's world, do you really use like the old school instant messenger apps, or you just pull out like Facebook Messenger or Twitter or Google Hangouts? When's the last time you guys used, before they shut down, a tool like AIM or Yahoo Instant Messenger or Windows Live Messenger?
Yeah, I'm with Kent in the chat, who, if you head over again to geeks.live, Kent says it wasn't dead already. I actually thought it was dead. I would have bet too much money on it being dead.
So no joke, honestly, I think the last time I used it all the time in college. All of my roommates, all my friends, all my classmates, we were all on AIM, because that was the easiest way to be like, hey, I'm working on homework. What'd you get on this? I'm stuck. Or hey, let's meet up. Let's go downtown. Instead of texting, because texting wasn't huge at that point in time, everyone was on AIM, and that's how we'd coordinate things that were going on. And it was like 98% of the group was using AIM. There were a few people on Yahoo Messenger and a few people on Google Talk at that point in time. And to kind of bridge that gap, instead of having to run like 4 different messenger programs, I don't know about you guys, did you ever use a third-party app called Trillion or something similar?
Yes, absolutely I did.
I used to use it all the time.
Yeah, I didn't use it, but I've heard of it.
It was a great tool. It combined Google Talk, Yahoo Messenger, AIM, ICQ, IRC, and there was probably 1 or 2 other chat protocols that you could all sign into through one interface, and it was great. But as I started thinking about it, I went, as I was wrapping up my college years, it kind of progressed away from, I'm going to text you, I'm going to send you a message on AIM. It was more of, I'll just text you. We got to the point where people got used to T9 typing, or they started getting smartphones with full-blown keyboards on them. And I don't know about you guys, once I got my smartphone, I never put the AIM app on there. I never put the Trillion app or the Yahoo Messenger app. It was all, I'll catch you via text message, or I'll catch you via some third-party application. So I honestly think text messaging is what killed this off a lot, and the rest of the nail in the coffin was probably Hangouts, Facebook Messenger, and things like that, which is just the new evolution that these guys couldn't catch up with. But pour out your drink for Yahoo Messenger. Pour one out for your homie. Rest in peace, Yahoo Messenger.
I'll admit I looked down to Yahoo Messenger people. I thought there was far better apps, and so I was like, wait, you're on Yahoo? I judged.
I'm going to have to boot up my Motorola Droid, the original one, to see what kind of apps are on there, because honestly I don't remember what texting app I used. I mean, WhatsApp maybe, but that's about it.
Yeah, I used ICQ, I used MSN, and then I think for a while I did use AIM. I think when I first met her, my wife got me on AIM, which was really weird because she wasn't my wife then, but it was my wife. Anyway, it's a weird story there. No, just joking. But seriously, I think it was AIM. And the only thing that I will say about Yahoo is, weren't they one of the first ones to actually get a web version?
Maybe. I honestly don't remember. It wouldn't surprise me if they were. There was a race to that at some point in time. I think Google was actually one of their big touting points when they launched their messengers. There's a web version from day one.
Yeah. I loved me some ICQ, especially because you could check people's IPs and do all sorts of malicious, very responsible things. Very responsible things. Would never do anything malicious.
Responsible things. No. That's true.
All right. Oh.
I did use a texting app or a messaging app on AOL. What was that called? Love at AOL. Yeah, that was something that I used.
Wait, you were on the dating service?
Yep. After I got divorced, yep, I was.
I actually didn't even know AOL had a dating service. I thought you made that up. I had no clue.
Yep, they had a dating service called Love at AOL. It did have an instant messenger service inherent in it that was different from AIM, and it was bought out by, I can't remember, it was a big company that bought them out, and I don't even think that company exists anymore.
Can I just say that there was a very missed opportunity there for the dating service, because as we all know, the Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan movie, infamous rom-com, was You've Got Mail, right?
You've got to say it right.
You've got mail.
You've got mail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was based off of AOL slogan, right? So obviously that should have been the name of the dating service. Right there. Missed opportunity.
Maybe, but there was no swiping back then. So I think they needed to add the swipe, whether it's left, right, up, down, whatever. It was like love at swipe AOL or swipe at AOL or something. I don't know.
What if I swipe diagonally?
Back then it was too much. You had to actually click on the message, then hit delete. That's 2 clicks. That's way more than a swipe. No go there. All right. Speaking of no-goes, why don't you tell me, SP, why it is no-go that there's life on Mars? Because I know you're about to crush our dreams.
Oh. Now, wait a minute. I'm not going to crush anybody's dreams. We're still finding this stuff out. So last week on June 7th, NASA announced in 2 studies that were published in the journal Science on June 7th. And this is via a Space.com article by Mike Wall, by the way, who's the senior writer of Space.com. The article was titled Curiosity Rover Finds Ancient Building Blocks for Life on Mars. So one of the papers, by the way, that the NASA Mars rover Curiosity identified a variety of organic molecules, and those are the carbon-based building blocks of life as we know it in 3.5 billion year old red planet rocks. Now, from the study lead author, Jennifer Eigenbrode, she said, these results do not give us any evidence of life, but there is a possibility that the organics are from an ancient life source. We just don't know. And even if life was never found, the molecules, tell us that there was at least something around for organisms to eat. So this is indications that there still could be life. We don't know. And the other paper, by the way, detailed a Curiosity rover find that methane concentration in Mars' atmosphere cycle seasonally. This is important. So the discovery suggests that this gas, which is here on Earth and is produced primarily by living organisms, is seeping out from underground reservoirs. Again, these results are not evidence of life in of themselves. Methane can also be produced by geological processes. However, they are consistent with the presence of Martian organisms, which is exciting in of itself. And this is a quote from this study lead author, Chris Webster. We cannot rule out the possibility that it was created biologically. We can't say that it was, but we're certainly not dropping that idea. So in a sense, that's positive for astrobiologists in the world, unquote. So a couple of great studies that were published in the journal Science last week. If you haven't had a chance, go ahead and check them out. Or if you want the condensed version, you can find this article over on space.com. So lots of exciting stuff going on in Mars. And oh, by the way, these studies will be followed up in 2020 when the ExoMars rover is launched. So it has got more specific measurement techniques on them for the methane gas. We simply don't have the capability to do that here on Earth because methane is in abundance. So they're looking at the fine details, and the fact that it's seasonal rather than specific means that it's seeping out of the ground rather than coming down from an asteroid. So lots of great stuff.
So what you're saying is that they've confirmed there was life on Mars. All of those quotes that said that they can't confirm it is just cover up, right?
Of course. There's life on Mars. I mean, I'm there half the time. The deputy NASA director, Suncast, is there the other half of the time. Of course, there's life on Mars. And then, coming in for tea or potatoes from time to time is the Martian.
Cool. So what you're saying is John Jones is up there. Is that true?
Well, his dad was up there for quite some time, so he comes back to reminisce from time to time. And of course, there's the white Martians up there as well.
Okay, cool. That's fantastic. Good news. Good news there.
This makes sense. This
Chris,
tracks.
Last time you were on Mars, did you notice anything?
Well, I was eating a lot of baked beans, so sorry, NASA censors. There's your obligatory fart joke this week.
Seasonal methane gases, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Well, thank you very much, Stargate Pioneer, for giving us hope that there are people in our solar system, or there was at one point.
Maybe a new hope?
Yeah, but you notice that I said people in our solar system. I didn't say aside from us, because I just at this point convinced that the human race is just not real. This has got to be like a programming glitch in the Matrix.
So if it was a long, long time ago, though, it could have been a new hope.
Absolutely. For sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of a new hope, we have a new hope for Google. Google getting better results. The Google has put the plea out to help you or help them quash spam all over the interwebs. Now, if you're not familiar with it, Google actually has, of course, a variety of AI to help detect bad spammy sites, bad results. And last year alone, there was 45 million notifications that Google had sent website owners about possible problems with their site. Well, now they're reaching out, and they made a post on June 8th that is encouraging people to manually help get rid of some of these bad sites that are listed out there. If you want to go ahead and check out the article, you can. It's geeks.link/Google spam. That's geeks.link/Google spam. And you can see the post all about it and how they are wanting people to help report problems with websites, that particularly targeting spam websites. Now, I thought this was pretty interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, that there was 45 million notifications last year based off of the AI alone, which is crazy. And number two, based off the fact that they are really trying to add that human reporting ability with Google searches. Now, obviously, this YouTube and other Google products have had a bit of a rough year with algorithms not exactly working as they should. So it's not really that surprising that they're going and really hyping up the manual intervention and making people be like, hey, we understand that we went wrong and you were searching for a kid's product, and ooh, look at that website we accidentally took you to. So it's not surprising that they're trying to make us feel like this is a good thing, but I don't know, at this point it's working. I think it's a good thing. Chris, as somebody who has gone down many, many, many bad websites, what do you think about this?
We don't talk about that maple syrup website anymore, Steven. Come on.
No, seriously, you had a couple of web presence sites before. You've even complained a little bit about some weird problems on the Google. Do you think that this is going to help Google search results, or do you think this is just lip service?
I think it's predominantly lip service. Do I think it'll help some? Yes, but at the very least, it's being able to say, put a spin on it. Hey, look, we're trying, guys. It's not our fault, but here, we're making these tools that you can help us do it. So they've got plausible deniability if things keep sucking. I'm just a pessimist.
Stargate Pioneer, you're going to get us out of this pessimism, right? You love Google.
I don't necessarily love Google, but I get that they're into making money. And the reason why I think this tool is going to work is they need it to make money. They need to purge their systems of all the spam sites out there. So what better way to do it than through this technology to add to their other technologies to make their information more marketable and more sellable?
The only concern I would have is bad actors potentially. If you get enough people that want to flag something legitimate as bad, I'm sure they've got a way to catch that. But you've seen what internet trolls can do when it basically comes to trying to ruin someone's life. This is just another way to potentially screw up someone's web presence. I'm sure Google has tools to see and to be able to track and be like, well, this doesn't make sense. We're getting a bunch of stuff from this IP range. Everyone's saying this is a bad site. Let's just hope they can stay on top of it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think they're usually pretty good about that sort of stuff. But I don't know, maybe Bandrew from the Bandrew Says podcast, as well as Podcastage YouTube channel, maybe he has some experience on how Google algorithms and fake reporting has gone wrong. So I'm sure he has all sorts of stories that he could tell us about why this is just a bunch of crock. Bandrew, that's a call out. You should tweet us.
We're actually going to review on Starling Tribune later this summer an episode of Legends of Tomorrow that speaks directly to how this could go very wrong.
Which episode is that?
I don't remember the title, but there's a big thumbs up, thumbs down wars sort of thing in an alternate dimension.
Yeah, I don't remember. I blocked most of CW shows.
Yeah, I remember that one now.
I don't remember anything. No.
That's a pretty good episode.
Oh, yes, that one. Yes, we all remember that one. All right, well, moving on to the extra news point.
I feel like I just got discounted right there. Like, shh, who cares what he says?
All right, so speaking of the things that don't matter, the extra section here, we are going to talk about the Blackberry. That's right, if you're not familiar
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, exactly. If you head on over to www.geeks.link/BBLOL, that's Blackberry LOL, get it? Blackberry had this conference this past weekend, and it was a bunch of horse, you know what, because they have announced a key to TCL, which is the Chinese electronics company that manufactures BlackBerry phones, announced a new premium smartphone called BlackBerry Key 2. This, of course, has dual camera, nearly edge-to-edge display, and we're talking sideways edge-to-edge because, of course, it has a physical keyboard, so it's not going to be top edge-to-edge. It's not edge-to-edge to edge-to-edge. It's just edge-to-edge, and a whole bunch of other usual BlackBerry features. It does come in a all black version, should you be interested, or just a black and silver version. Yeah, it's a 4.5 display. I don't know what else to say about this. It's really like, yay, BlackBerry's still going. I just don't really know at this point what BlackBerry's future is.
It's Android, just like Suncast said in there. The vast majority of their stuff runs a more secure version of Android. They've put their own security stuff on top of. You're not really getting traditional BlackBerry OS anymore.
No, I don't really know why BlackBerry is still around. I guess they must be making some money off of this. It's got to be the physical keyboard market. Like, that's got to be all they're going for at this point. Maybe I'm wrong.
Just what I was going to say is that the physical keyboard actually would be, I believe, beneficial to a lot of people. There are some people in this world, like myself, that have reduced electrical connectivity to their hands. And this is a neurological issue that I have. So oftentimes I will be pressing on the frickin' button and nothing will happen. And yet if I had a physical keyboard, that would happen. It would respond just fine. So not for me, but for other people, the physical keyboard would be beneficial for some people. So there is a market for it. I just don't know if it's going to be able to compete with the Notes or the Samsung Galaxies or the iOS or the Motorola's or the Pixies, as you guys have.
Stargate Pioneer, I've got a solution for your lack of connectivity. We've all seen the wonderful winter gloves that you can get that help with the connectivity. Obviously, plastic surgery, putting those into your fingertips, that's the way to go. Plus, when you commit a murder, swap them out. Done. No fingerprints.
Actually, you know what they were selling in like China and South Korea? It wasn't special gloves. It was basically a sausage pencil, basically, because it would have enough conductivity. Rather, it would work on screen. So it was a sausage wrapped in plastic that you could unwrap and then be able to tap your screen with. Weirdest thing ever.
Could we possibly get a bunch of these together at a convention and maybe we'll just call it a festival? We can have a sausage fest.
That's the Gonna Geek show almost every week.
Stargate Pioneer, though, you do have those actual touch gloves, don't you?
I do, but they don't work unless you have some sort of connectivity behind it. It doesn't enhance anything. It just transfers what's there.
I think.
Have you tried hooking a battery to your hand?
Sadly, yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, also in the extra here, the Pixel Book's power button apparently is going to be working as a two-factor authentication key. If you're not familiar with two-factor authentication, it's basically a second way that you can authenticate yourself so that it just basically helps lock down security and whatnot. And yes, the rumor is that apparently the Pixel Book, Google's Pixel Book, which is, of course, a Chrome OS powered laptop, is going to be implementing a two-factor authentication through the actual power button. So I guess that's kind of neat. Kind of not really helpful if somebody just steals your device that the two-factor authentication is actually built into. So then they have the authentication right there. So I question the security ways of that, but hey, I guess it's another way to make two-factor authentication happen, because really, ultimately, the goal with two-factor authentication is that if someone gets your password, they can't log in on their computer. So I guess this still works in that sense, but not if they take your actual laptop.
But this isn't really easy to do, though, either. You've got to enable the developer channel to do it. So this is really a feature they've put out there for people to play with. It's not like this is rolling out to Joe Customer who just bought his Pixel Book while it's on sale.
Yeah, I was getting there.
Sorry.
If you brought it up. No. Yeah.
I felt like we were wrapping it up, and I just wanted to clarify.
No, that is the interest. No, that's the interesting side of this article, is the fact that it is part of what's called the developer channel. Now, I think, though, we'll probably see this come mainstream if it works out. In the meantime, though, if you want to get all crazy, head on over to geeks.link/pixelbutton and check out the article there, and it'll tell you all about that. And finally, in our extra news section here, we record this on Mondays, as we mentioned before. Mondays, E3 news. Chris Farrell, what's been your highlight as the resident big-time gamer here? What's your resident highlight of the day about E3 news?
So it's not from today, it's from yesterday, but Bethesda announced a new Fallout game. I'm not normally a huge Fallout fan, but it's called Fallout 76, and it's set in the great state of West Virginia, where I live. One of the coolest things in that game was seeing places I've been, seeing one of the main halls at WVU portrayed in that game in a post-apocalyptic nuclear wasteland. I put in my first pre-order for a Fallout game ever.
Cool.
Just today, because I want to go and play this game and explore Morgantown, West Virginia after nuclear winter has set in. Everything's been destroyed, and just see what I can claim back of the city I live in. There's just something that sounds really cool about the fact I live here, and there's a game that's going to be partially set where I live. So I want to go and see if the back roads I use to sneak around town to get to places quickly exist in the game. If like little hole in the wall places I like to go exist. I'm super intrigued. I want to go and like try and take over Mountaineer Field or the WVU Coliseum, stuff like that. So interesting surprise. That was really cool. There's a ton of E3 stuff going on right now. The other thing that really surprised me, last thing, because I know we got other stuff, how bad the Square Enix press conference was today. They have all of these big titles they should be talking about. Specifically, they have an Avengers license that they're supposed to be doing something with, which is basically supposed to be the spiritual successor to X-Men Legends Marvel Ultimate Alliance. They didn't touch on it at all in their E3 press conference. Their first E3 press conference in 3 years. And they don't touch on one of their biggest licenses. I have no idea what they're thinking.
Wow, that's bizarre. Sounds like somebody dropped the ball there.
I mean, Infinity War is in theaters. It's made almost $2 billion, and you're not going to talk about an Avengers game. And Kent's also right in the chat room. Kingdom Hearts 3 looks freaking sweet. That's a true point. Square Enix has that going for them.
Maybe they're like me, and they just don't like Avengers Infinity War, so they are not producing a game for it. Now, this would be a bad business decision, but, you know, maybe it's on principle.
So, I mean, it's not an Infinity War game. It's just an Avengers game. You would think you would want to tie in with the press and the excitement there.
Yeah. So,
unless you didn't like the movie.
I don't think the business decision comes down to the CEO be like, I didn't like Avengers. Let's not talk about a game.
That could be it. I mean, it'd be a poor business decision, but it might
going
be.
To get fired.
We have seen that before.
This is true.
Yeah, so definitely some interesting things both head scratchers and legitimate interesting things coming out of E3. Wasn't there also something about a new Origins, EA Origins pass or something? I thought I read something about that. No?
Not that I recall. Xbox Game Pass has some new games coming to it. They touted some like fast loading feature that's going to be coming that's AI powered, but they didn't give a ton of meaning as to what that meant. That would allow you to start games quicker when you download them from the cloud. So evidently it prioritizes the first segment of the game that everyone needs to play, so that you, instead of having to wait for, say, 50% of the game to download, it could theoretically be like 20% of the game to download and the rest would go in the background.
I was thinking about their EA announced that they're launching Origin Access Premier, which is a new subscription service for Windows from the publisher's Origin digital distribution platform, as we know. And they've already got Origin Access on the PC, but looks like this is going to be a little bit different and offer the ability to play pre-release trials of upcoming games, access to The Vault, which is a collection of over 100 full games, and a 10% discount on all other Origin purchases. So that's what I was thinking of.
Don't download Origin. Don't.
No. Why?
They put a rootkit on people's computers years ago on stuff. I'll never trust them again. It's not like Steam, where you download Steam, that's the client to get things. EA put a rootkit that handled DRM and was constantly pinging servers in the background and was screwing with people's computers because how often it was phoning home. I will never download Origin and put it on any of my computers.
I bought a game a couple weeks ago.
Should have bought it on Steam.
Apparently. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to find out a little bit about SP's backyard. Oh, that sounds ominous.
Yard.
All right, so let me set this segment up here. Those of you who have been watching or subscribed to the Gonna Geek Gear channel at youtube.com/Gonna Geek Gear, you might have found a video recently that Stargate Pioneer did of an unboxing and a setup. But when I saw this, I thought, okay, I know we have to talk about this on the GonnaGeek.com show. It's so cool. It's so incredible for a summertime geek home. And I'm very, very jealous. So let's hear all about SP's backyard theater.
Yeah, so if you're one of the 3 people that actually saw the video on Gonna Geek Gear, I'm sorry, this might be a little bit duplicative, although I do have some new information, so you might want to hang on for that. For those of you that have not seen it, please go over to Gonna Geek Gear and watch the video titled Outdoor Theater Review, and you will actually see all these components live. I didn't bring any of them into my studio for this segment here just because they're kind of big components and I just didn't have all the room around my desk. So we're just going to leave those outside the studio. And if you want to actually see them, go to the review video over on Gonna Geek Gear. But do you guys remember drive-in theaters? Do you guys, Chris, Steven, do you guys remember drive-in theaters?
They're before my time.
I remember them. I have not ever been to one.
For my time.
I remember seeing E.T. in the drive-in theater. I remember seeing Star Wars in the drive-in theater. I mean, it was something that my parents did. Of course, it was cheaper back then. And when we fell asleep in the back seat, they could just, drive home afterwards. But, for those 2 movies, I was wide awake during the whole thing. They were probably, being a parent myself, I'm probably thinking, oh gosh, when is he going to go to sleep? Who can we leave? Who can we leave? So anyway, saw those movies in the drive-in theater. Well, guess what, guys? There's not too many of them around. I actually have a couple of dead husks of them by my house. One has been completely razed and rebuilt as condominiums, and the other one is shortly going to be razed. And I don't know what it's going to turn into, but it'll be the last drive-in theater I think I see around my house in a very long time, perhaps forever. So there's no more drive-in theaters. So what if you get the urge to spend some of your summer nights outside watching a movie? How do you do that? Well,
summer lovin' had me a oh, sorry. No.
Sure.
No.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Is that copyrighted? I have no idea. You're going to have to edit that out?
I'm sure it probably is, but I wasn't singing the song that you think that I was singing, even though it sounds exactly like it.
Okay. So fair use applies for Steven's copyrighted song. That sounds exactly like another copyrighted song. So I guess you could go outside. You could grab a patio chair and put in your earbuds and, pull out your phone or your tablet and, You can watch it outside on a 4 to, I don't know, 10-inch screen or something like that. Yeah, that's pretty nice, huh? That's a lot smaller than the big screens. Probably not going to work out there. I mean, it's outside. There's a lot of space, right? Hardly seems right to enjoy a major feature film with family and friends on a screen. It's no bigger than an iPhone 4. So what else can you do? Well, you can do what I did, and you can assemble an outdoor portable theater. And that is what we're going to talk about. So why did I go ahead and do this? Originally, it was for a single use, I'll admit. It was for my daughter's team bonding sleepover. That's actually going to occur next weekend. And she requested that they be able to watch a movie outside, probably because they've done it before at a previous captain's sleepover house before the season started. It's a team bonding event, you know? So I got it for that, but I'm thinking, you know, we could use it for more than that if it works. And if it doesn't work, oh, well, I've wasted a lot of money, but it's no big deal. In testing it, we found out that not only did we enjoy it, but the kids' friends enjoyed it. Our friends enjoyed it. And our neighbors actually didn't complain. They were like, when can we come over and watch something? Of course,
because they were out on their balcony looking down and enjoying the free movie.
Why not? I mean, these are not first-run movies. You're not going to be streaming something in the theater. These are going to be stuff that you can get and stream some way. This is going to be things that you can get on a Blu-ray or a DVD or something like that. So we found out that it was really cool to use, but it gives us something to do on a hot summer night that's honestly too hot for a campfire. I don't know if you guys have campfires or not. We have a fire pit in our backyard. And unfortunately, in the dead of summer, when you have those 70-degree nights, 80-degree nights, you really can't have a fire. So, but it's a beautiful night and you want to be outside. So the movie theater is great. Now, a lot of people with pools have these as well. I don't have a pool. I'm not ever going to put a pool in. What a money pit. Not ever going to do that. So I started going down this path of trying to obtain a outdoor screen, and I knew the other previous teammate that had an outdoor screen. It was actually a blow-up screen, and I was told that the projector kind of sort of worked when you wanted it to work or when it wanted to work, sort of thing. So I'm like, fine, you know, I'm going to look into this myself because I want to control my own destiny, so to speak. So there are different equipment choices. The three main components are the screen, the projector, and the projector stand. Yes, the projector stand is an actual equipment component to this whole thing that you have to consider. So let's start with the screen. There are two types that I mentioned before. You can get an inflatable screen or you can get a metal stand screen. And if it's a metal stand screen, you don't have to put it on the ground. You don't have to put it on the stand on the ground. You can actually string it between trees, or you can hang it from your house or something like that. I prefer not to hang it from the house because I don't want that metal frame banging up against the house in case there was a freak storm that showed up. That would break windows, break siding, that sort of thing. So I prefer to keep that source of damage away from my house, a little sort of risk mitigation. But if you have some big trees out in your backyard, you can hang it up between those. That's great too. With the inflatables, they're inherently stable, or a lot stabler than the metal frame stands, but the blowers make a lot of noise. And I'm not into making noise all night long. I don't want it overshadowing the sound of the movie, and I don't want to bug my neighbors all night long. So that is why I did not go for a blower. You can get these screens, and they're the same sort of screens, by the way, that you can get in your home. Like if you had a huge home movie theater room, it is either a front projection or a rear projection. And these are the same things that you see at work actually too. So you can do front or rear projection. And of course you have your option of size. You can go from anything from, I don't know, 9 feet to 20 feet or something like that. The cost analysis that I did, 120 inches or roughly 10 feet, that's affordable for me. That's the knee in the curve for me in the cost analysis comparison. But you might want to go bigger. I don't want to go bigger because the freaking wind, and we'll get to that in a little bit. The projector, here are some of the options for the projector itself. 1080, you can get a really good projector at a reasonable price for 1080. However, 4K projectors are available, as well as 3D capability. This is something that you have to buy. You can't just slip it in. It has to be a 4K or a 3D enabled TV or a 3D enabled projector in order for it to work. So if you want to do the 3D, which I don't, you guys know my eyes, but if you want to, you have to buy the 3D capability with the projector. Another component capability to the projector that you have to look into is the luminescence. Now, this is the brightness of the picture, and essentially with an outdoor theater that is going to be working around dusk time, you want to get it as bright as you can, as affordable as you can. Otherwise, it's just going to be too dark to see until it gets really dark out. Now, if you happen to be taking this portable, like camping or somewhere where you have a minimal amount of gear available, you want something that can get some sort of sound out. I can guarantee you it's not going to be a booming theater sound, but you'd be able to at least hear something versus not hear something. So that's a consideration. The keys that you'd want to know for the projection itself, you'd want to be able to focus it, because your screen and your projector are going to be constantly moving every single time you set it up. It's going to be in different places. So you're going to want to be able to focus it. You're going to be able to zoom in and out. And you want to be able to do something known as keystone, which is basically a trapezoidal sort of projection that you can change on the screen. Like if you're projecting down or up, it will look like it's a trapezoid on the screen. And if you change the keystone, you can actually get it to look correctly on the screen. You're going to have to look at what sort of inputs that you want in there. Normally these days it's HDMI, but if you have something else that's RCA inputs, make sure that that is available on the projector you choose. If you want the projector itself to have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth enabled, you want to make sure that the projector has those. I will warn you, that is going to cost a lot of money and probably not necessary for the setup, but hey, every setup is going to be different, so to each their own. And you will want some sort of tilt adjustment back and forth, and this largely is going to be mechanical. It's not going to be digital. So it's either going to be feet on the projector itself or the stand itself you can get so it can tilt back and forth. But you basically want to be able to move that image in 4 dimensions, up, down, left, right, and the tilt back and forth and that sort of thing. Now, the projection stand itself, you're going to want that to be portable, especially if you're going to take this apart and put it out over and over again, which you will, because you have weather to contend with. Yes, you can. On a normal night, you can probably keep this stuff out all night and not really have an issue unless there's going to be heavy dew in the morning. Me personally, as soon as I'm done, I want to take that stuff in because I never want to chance those electric components to get water in them through dew. That's just going to ruin them, and it's just too much money. So you're going to want all this stuff to be portable. You're going to want it to be adjustable. The projector stand, you're going to want it to be adjustable, and you're going to want the projector stand to be large enough, not just for the projector, but for whatever player is connected into the projector, and possibly speakers or additional stands for speakers, or you can feel comfortable enough to put the speakers on the ground. And then some sort of storage. You have to figure out some sort of storage for all this stuff, bags or locations in the house and that sort of thing. So those are the choices for the equipment. Remember, screen, projector, and projector stand. Now, I chose for my outdoor theater system, after doing some extensive research into it, I chose a 120-inch Elite Screens Yardmaster screen, and this screen is capable of going up to 8K. It's got active 3D capability, it's HDR ready, and it's foldable and portable. So it's basically like a sail or a boat canvas that you snap on this frame, and this frame has feet that you can put on it. It has actual stakes that you can put in the ground, and I thought this would be a lot better for the noise factor than a blow up, and it would be a lot more condensed for storage later because those inflatables are huge. I don't want to deal with the inflatables and the blower to go with it. So I chose that. It is, again, the Elite Screens Yardmaster 2. For the projector, I chose an Optoma HD 142X. This was after a lot of research into it. This is a 1080p capable. It's not 4K. Those are like $2,000. I was more in the $500 range. So it is a 1080p. It's got 3,000 lumens, which it's not the 4,000 lumens or 4,500 lumens, but it's definitely not the 1,200 or 2,000. And as far as lumens go, like 100 back and forth is not going to matter, but 1,000 back and forth is going to matter. So if you have a 3,000 series, it's going to be better than a 2,000 or a 1,000. It's not going to be as good as a 4,000 or a 4,500. But yeah, 3000. And I wanted to be able to get as much time with the screen while it was still earlier in the night. So, you know, summers have long days. So I wanted to be able to at least set it up and be able to see what was projecting before it got dark out. So I chose the 3000 lumen series. Again, I could have chosen 4000, but that would have driven the item way up in price. And the Optoma was consistently at the high end of any list that I looked at. I looked at multiple lists, like dozens of lists online. So I chose the Optoma HD 142X. Very good decision, by the way, and we'll get into that in a second. For the projector stand, I chose a Pro DJ laptop projector stand. It's done by Pile, and the unit number is PLPTS3. This has a tilt function on it. It's got a large tray that expands out to about 41 inches. It's got a pole that can go high or low, and it just seemed to be the right choice. It wasn't for one particular issue, but I can make do without it. And of course, my player of choice that I've just bundled with the whole thing was an old repurposed PlayStation PS3.
Nice.
Wasn't using it for anything anymore. It's got a Blu-ray player in it. It's got Wi-Fi, so I can stream any of my services through it, no matter what they are. If I wanted to do Vudu, Amazon, Netflix, you know, you name it, it can stream it. So went ahead and used that. I figured that would be the optimal thing. And if it breaks, I don't care, because it's a PlayStation 3. And I've actually got two of them in the house, and this was just an extra one. So, oh well. So that's the system. Again, an Elite Screens Yardmaster 2 120-inch screen or 10-foot screen, an Optoma HD 142X 1080p projector, and a projector stand, and then a repurposed PlayStation 3. Now, setting this thing up was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be very complicated with the screen itself. But the screen, you think of it in terms like a toddler's playpen. Steven, you know about a toddler's playpen, right? You know how easy those can be.
I've never set them up because usually my wife sets it up for me so that I can go in it. So
I figured it's just because you got stuck in them trying to set them up because they would get caught.
That's fair too.
Well, this is actual, I don't know, inch square aluminum. It's very light, but I don't think a gate does it justice. It's more like a playpen, and you just fold it out, and it has locks in it, and then it creates this big square with snap receivers on it, and then you just take the screen and you snap it on. You don't have to worry about stretching it correctly, overstretching it, taking out the creases. It automatically does all that for you just because of the way it is. And then it snaps into the legs, which snap together. So I put it together inside, and then I've taken it outside, and it's so light that one person can carry it. But because I'm so worried about that screen catching an edge somewhere, I usually do it with two people. Just ask somebody else, and we take it outside. And two people, it's too light for two people, but just because I'm trying to be safe with the screen itself, I have two people taking it in and out. So it's very easy to set up. It's very light, and because of that, it's very susceptible to wind, because basically it is a sail. I mean, if you've ever been on a sailboat, the wind catches it and it blows the sailboat, you know, propels the boat along. Well, this is trying to propel the screen over and over and over and over again. When I set it up for the first time, I think it fell over about 4 times. And fortunately, it didn't. Fortunately, it didn't damage because the winds were so light. It didn't actually bend the frame, but I have read reviews that the frame has bent, and I think those people have had it out in very hefty winds, and I could see the screen, the frame bending for the screen that way. So my advice is, unfortunately, it's got to be a real calm night. So under 5 mile an hour normal wind and up to 10 mile an hour gusts, and that's all you're going to be able to use this if you use it with the legs. Now, if you actually string it between trees and you tie it up real tight, you probably can use it whenever. But if you're going to use the actual frame and the feet to the frame, even if you put hefty weights, like if you have like 50-pound weights, first of all, it might crush the actual steel frame or aluminum frame. But second of all, it's going to bend it because if the thing's still going to catch wind and the wind's going to want to push it over. So it's going to bend the frame, as the reviews could tell. So just be careful about how you're going to use this. And yes, every time I bring it out, I secure it to ground with stakes because a very light wind can start blowing it over. And once it starts blowing it over, it could reach that tip point and go over. And if I can just prevent that from happening just with the 4 stakes that it came with, I'm going to do that. Okay, the projector, it was a dream, pretty much plug and play. Depending on how you use the projector, like if you get a rear mounted or rear projector screen, you have to swap it. If you mount it, this is the same sort of projector you can use in your house. So if you use it in your house and you mount it on your ceiling, you're going to have to flip that image upside down. And it was configured to do a front facing projection, so I didn't have to do anything, and just did minor adjustments to make sure it fit the screen and make sure it was an adjustment and focus and everything. And bingo. The optimum distance for a 10-foot screen I found was about 12 and a half, 13 feet. So that's just, so if you're looking at doing something this in your house and you're like, I have the space in my great room to do a 10-foot screen, you got to make sure that you have the 13 feet away in order to put the projector. And there is some zoom back and forth, but it doesn't give you a lot of play, just a little bit of a play. Now, the projector stand itself, a little bit more cumbersome to actually set up, but I'm glad I have it because of that tilt function and the portability. The one I have is too small. It's not big enough to hold the projector and a player, even a small laptop, maybe a Roku, but nothing really big. So if you want to use a bigger device like a PlayStation or an Xbox or something, make sure you get the bigger tray size. And definitely if you want to put speakers on. So talking about speakers from the use experience of it, the 10-watt internal speaker was good enough to hear it, but it wasn't good enough to get any sort of decent sound from it. It's only 10 watts. 10 watts isn't much. 10 watts would be like taking your phone and cranking the volume up so everybody can hear it. So it does have a 3.5 millimeter audio out. And I was able to use that to connect it to my old podcast studio monitor speakers. They're powered speakers, Emma Audio AV40s. And those puppies gave out just enough sound to sound really good. It gave like a deep bass sound to it, as well as just an overall good frequency response, especially for outside. Matter of fact, I had the kids had it out right, and at first, and they cranked it up. I was like, no. We have neighbors. We yes, I know you want to get the experience, but just enough is good enough. We don't have to overpower everybody. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, I mean, if you guys want to continue to watch movies outside, we got to be nice to the neighbors. So there you go. Also, if you're going to do this, if you're going to do an outdoor theater, make sure you stock up on bug spray, or I don't know, have a shotgun around if you have wildlife around there or something.
Wow, you're going to shoot your shotgun at bugs? That seems a little bit overkill.
He's going to shoot video game characters on the screen.
Yeah, that's right. Duck Hunt. Duck Hunt. You could actually play Duck Hunt. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. And also the picture, I mentioned that before. The picture was just, I was shocked. So I set it up outside and it was light out. And as it was getting darker for the very first time, as it was getting darker, clouds started rolling in. I'm like, oh no, the first time I have this out, I'm not. So I quickly got it back inside and I set it up in my great room. And I was watching Rogue One just because it was streaming on Netflix. It's like the only other time I'm ever going to watch Rogue One. And I was shocked at the contrast that was capable of. So projectors are often not thought of primarily as lumens. The key component is the contrast that you're looking at. And I have no idea how this thing compares contrast to other projectors, but I know it is really good. So I was really surprised at the picture. And then, well, like we were watching The Incredibles last weekend. And not this weekend because we were rained out, but the weekend before we were watching The Incredibles, the original one, not the second one that's out in theaters right now. And it was, I was just, the color palettes were just amazing. It was really cool. So I can definitely recommend this projector as an affordable 10-foot 1080 screen. It is really good. And this whole thing is so easy that I'm not kidding. A 17-year-old, basically cheerleader girl can set it up. So because that's what happened.
That's awesome.
So that was pretty good. Yep.
So what would you change about it if you were going to do it all over?
I definitely would get the bigger projector table size because you never know what you're going to actually put on there or not. And if you're going to take it camping, you're going to want some sort of additional power source, and you might not want that gas generator going. So you might want to look into one of those solar power generators that are just, the batteries that you charge up with solar cells or whatever. I definitely would change the screen stand. I mean, I love how light it is. I love how portable it is. But if it's going to bend in a 10-mile-an-hour wind or a 15-mile-an-hour wind, I mean, I want to be able to use this probably up to about 20 miles an hour, which I know is a lot, but that's the gusts, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want sustained 20-mile-an-hour winds. I want sustained like 10-mile-an-hour winds, maybe 15, and then be able to handle that occasional gust. So a sturdier stand would be beneficial. I definitely would like additional audio outs. I know a lot of speakers now have Bluetooth capable. You know, you can get those portable party speakers that are Bluetooth capable. It would be great to have those. And the projector that I have doesn't. Again, you can buy it with Wi-Fi or Bluetooth capability, but you're going to spend a lot more. And you know, I don't have 4K. I'm going to upgrade at some point in time to 4K if I keep doing this. But if you want 4K capability, that's something that you'd want to change. And then if you can grab more lumens, I mean, if it's affordable to go in the 4,000 range for you for the projector, go for it, because that extra 10 or 15 minutes around dusk actually means something to the people around you. So you'd want to grab that. And also, if you happen to, this is a home theater use, but if you happen to use this technology, maybe at a convention, like you're actually projecting in a big convention booth or something like that, you're going to want as many lumens as you can. So that's just some helpful hints there.
How about on the contrast? What worked really well for you?
Just the standard settings. They worked phenomenal. So I did play around with them a little bit, but it started getting washed out. And then it started getting too dark. So just the standard contrast, it worked great. Don't have a lot of light pollution where I am, but it's not completely dark either. And it worked. So I think you could use this projector great inside a home theater with a window that you could blacken out, but still have some light coming through. Yeah.
So that projector you talked about, I've seen it in some different YouTube builds for people's home theaters and stuff like that. It's been very highly reviewed by folks as an affordable projector to do for a home theater. So you've got a solid one there.
Yeah, like I said, it's about the $500 range. If you go up to the 1,000 or 2,000 range, you get some phenomenal capabilities. But I'm telling you, for this outdoor theater use, I mean, you're not going to want the fine resolutions that you might want, like when you're gaming or you're watching some intense sci-fi or something like that. So yeah, 1080 is fine for an outdoor theater on a 10-foot screen, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. If you're a video file, you might want that 4K. So there you go. I do have some suggestions. If you plan to do this, if you're thinking in terms of I'm going to SP, you're a genius. I am now going to get an outdoor theater for my family. These are some things to actually ease your use of it. So make sure you have an agreement with your co-conspirators, you know, your family members or your friends that are coming over. Make sure that they know that you have designated some people to help you tear down afterwards, because after it's done, people are tired. It's going to be like midnight or later. They're going to want to go home, say, no, we got to clean up after our party, because you don't want that stuff left out again, or whatever. So just have an agreement beforehand, and you don't have to tear it down, but you have to get it inside. So that's the key there. And then also, as far as setup goes, setup does take some time, a lot, somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes before sunset to actually set it up. You can set it up earlier in the day, but from my experience during the day, it's a lot more windy. So as it gets to that dusk time frame, the winds start dying down, so you can have a more stable experience for the screen. And then just long term, and if you don't want this stuff like camped out right next to your door the whole time, make sure you allot whatever size your items happen to be. If you're going to do this, you're going to be getting this stuff in and out once, twice a week, something like that. So make sure you have a storage place that's easily accessible and not like at the back of your shed that you have lawnmowers and everything else, snow blowers or whatever in between here and there. So yeah, the screen worked well. The PlayStation 3 worked phenomenally. It was a great decision that I made to use that. And remember, you're only going to use this a few times out of the year. And, you know, at best, maybe a dozen and a half times. So you don't really want to buy that much dedicated equipment for it. So if you can repurpose something that will just work, then use that. And don't think you have to go out and buy all new equipment for it. Remember, G and PG movies around dusk If you want to go to PG-13 and R, make sure that's the second part of your double feature.
And make sure all of the kids can see it, because then you'll be the popular one on the block, right?
This is how you teach your kids about the Matrix.
Well, it sounds like it was a pretty worthwhile purchase for you, SP. So thanks for sharing that on here. It sounds like I've talked to you a little bit offline about this, and it sounds like you've made the family very happy.
Yeah, family and friends and stuff like that. They're like, oh man, I remember going, and maybe it's some nostalgia on the fact that, like I said, drive-in theaters don't exist anymore. And maybe it's just like, oh, we can do this in somebody's backyard rather than having to go somewhere to watch a movie. And again, it's not going to be your first run stuff, but stuff comes out in digital a lot sooner than it used to. So you can catch some stuff. Like, I bet you Avengers Infinity War will be out before the summer's out in terms of digital release. Deadpool 2 Solo. So you'll be able to see those by the end of the
Infinity
summer.
War party at SP's. You heard it here first on the GonnaGeek.com show.
I will not be watching.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that. And by the way, for those of you who are not watching the video side of things, you can head on over to geeks.link/243 and see that Kent had a suggestion in the chat about perhaps another genre of film to watch. So we'll leave it at that. There you go.
I see.
Well, thank you very much, SP, for sharing. Again, I know that you've made a lot of people happy. I know you put a lot of thought into this, and I know you spent a lot of time building the information for today's segment as well. And I hope that you, listener or viewer, this has inspired you to go ahead and either A, get your own system, or B, go on over to SP's house.
Yeah, for under $1,000, this is it's better than putting a pool in. I'll tell you that. And then the real purpose for it will occur next weekend. So I'll tell you if it worked or it didn't work.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's going to take us towards the end of the show. If you have something that you want to say to us, please get in touch with us through any of the ways. You can find us at www.gonnageek.com or just head on over to geeks.live when we usually record. Remember, again, a couple of weeks will be a little bit earlier. But for episode number 243 of the official GonnaGeek.com show, I'm Stephen John Drew. Again, hashtag thanks Canada.
And I'm SP saying, yeah, no Infinity War at my house.
And I'm Chris saying E3 is looking to make me buy a lot of games this year.
Why am I surprised? I shouldn't be surprised at this point. No. Bye!
Thanks for checking out another episode of the official GonnaGeek.com show. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts or a thumbs up on YouTube. You can always join us for our live recording sessions, which stream Mondays at 8:45 p.m. Eastern at www.geeks.live. And remember, you can find our full back catalog at GonnaGeek.com/show. If you're itching for more geeky content, check out other shows on GonnaGeekNetwork.com. Voice work was by Emily Prokop of the Story Behind podcast. That's it for this episode. We hope to see you back again next week.